This is The Unhappy Millionaire, where entrepreneurs and other top performers discover how to go beyond the bank balance to create thriving, joyful lives. For more, visit theunhappymillionaire.com. Now, on to the show. So Tal, I've spent my share of time dipping into business advice, self-help podcasts, things like that. And we make a big deal of trying to get people interested in the practical value of philosophy. We're not the only ones to do it, though. I think of people like Tim Ferriss, who wrote The 4-Hour Work Week, or Ryan Holiday, who's written, a gazillion best-selling books. And they often talk about philosophy, and particularly philosophy that originated in Greece and really took off in Rome, of Stoicism. And I thought we could talk a little bit about some of those ideas because they're really popular amongst successful people, ambitious people, driven people. And I don't think it's an issue of even people who've studied Stoicism being influenced by it. This idea that life is suffering and you got to toughen up by not being too invested in success, in achievement, in any of the things that are outside your control. This is something I think has really permeated the culture in many ways. And so I thought it would be valuable to delve into, contrast it with how we think about success and about values and about the attitude one should have towards life.
Yeah, I have to say, Don, that this is a great point, because if you build your self-help recommendations based on philosophy, they're much stronger, right? Think about all the religious self-help, the gurus on humongous stages that you see on TV. And yeah, Ryan Holiday, the bringing back the Stoics is a big phenomenon. I've seen it in the Silicon Valley, where people actually sold everything they owned and just kept like 3 shirts, 2 pants, 1 pair of sneakers. That's it. That's all I own. That's what's important, to get rid of things, to not value anything, focus on your work, focus on the hardships. Life is suffering. And yeah, we need to avoid pain and be stoic. Yeah, I think we'll first give them the credit of understanding that it's going to sell a lot of books if you bring philosophy to the mix. And it does, because people identify the power of very deep fundamental ideas being brought to how should one lead his or her life. That's why it succeeded. The not so good part of it is that if you have issues with your fundamentals, then the outcome is lack of happiness, lack of meaning. And what I saw that Stoicism led to is cynicism more than anything.
I think the core appeal is that it claims to teach you how to deal with adversity. And we all encounter adversity. And its promise is that even in the face of life's challenges, you can achieve serenity. But I think that in the end, what it amounts to is an anti-happiness philosophy, that it'll really starve you of the ability to achieve happiness. And maybe let me start by giving, at the broadest outlines, what Stoicism holds. So I said it's the starting point is the idea that life is suffering. The world is filled with suffering, and it's the defining feature. And the clearest indication of this is we're all destined for death. And so how are you supposed to deal with that in order to achieve happiness? Now, first of all, their conception of happiness is what they call like an easy flowing life. It's really tranquility, which is, the root of the word tranquilizer. It's not feeling anything a great deal. But the way that you get there is that you make yourself indifferent, or part of the way you get there is to make yourself indifferent with what they call external values. So you can pursue things like wealth and health and good relationships. But the idea is, don't cling to them too much. Don't invest yourself in them too much. Don't let them really matter to you, because in the end, they're not important. And this gets to the next key idea. Why aren't they important? Because you can't control them. All you can control is your moral character. And so all that should matter in your life is that you are honest, just, courageous, and your kids, your husband, your wife, your job, your business, your house. In the end, you can't control them, so stop caring about them too much.
Yeah, it's determinism, right? First, it starts with the idea that you can't control much. But let me read to you some quotes that I found really telling. Well, it starts with, in Marcus Aurelius says in Meditations, altogether human affairs must be regarded as ephemeral and of little worth. Yesterday's sperm, today a mummy or ashes, right? First, What is life? Who cares? If it's life is not significant, what is? That's the basic. I mean, the way I value my life is like my life is sacred. And then he goes on to say all kinds of things like every time you see food or you see meat, it's like, oh, this is a dead bird, a dead pig, right? And the part that I found really horrible is like of sexual intercourse as internal rubbing accompanied by spasmodic ejection of mucus. What useful perceptual images these are. They go to the heart of things and pierce right through them so that you see things for what they are. So just remove all the valuing. Just see things as they are. Or where Epictetus says, in case of love, if you kiss your child and your brother and your friend, never let your thoughts about them go all the way. And don't allow yourself to be as elated as your feeling wants, but check it and restrain it. Furthermore, at the very moment you are taking joy in something, present yourself with the opposite impressions. What harm is it that just when you are kissing your little child to say, tomorrow you will die? Or to your friend, similarly, tomorrow one of us will go away and we shall not see one another anymore, right? So for the promise of peace and tranquility, take away the valuing. So I think that what happens, and you can see the causal effect of people that really take it seriously, with a promise of peace and tranquility, you destroy the ability to value, you destroy the ability to be happy, truly happy, because it's a defensive philosophy. I think we call this chapter Stoicism is for losers. Just think about what it means to go and play a game where all you do is defense. All you do is like, I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to get, so the other team doesn't score a goal. You will lose every game, right? And I think it's not a heroic way of life. It's an anti-heroic way of life because you take away the reason to live.
It's important to get what the Stoics are doing in those passages you read. What they're giving you is, in effect, here's exercises or thought experiments you can do to stop caring and stop revering earthly values. That was the point about food and sex that Marcus Aurelius is making, is he wants these things, he values them, and he's trying to make himself not give a damn by, how do I rob them of significance? How do I rob them of importance? How do I just see them as meaningless, even gross? And to me, I contrast that with Ayn Rand's attitude towards values. She wrote journal entries really early on in her life, before she had written any of her famous novels. And she was thinking about the people she saw around her. And she said, they don't have the ability for reverence, to take things seriously, is one way she put it. Like to hold things as profound. And just to give part of the exact quote, there's nothing, no idea, object, work, or person that can inspire with a profound, intense, and all-absorbing passion that reaches to the roots of their soul. They do not know how to value or desire. They cannot give themselves entirely to anything. They take all things lightly, easily, pleasantly, almost indifferently, in that they can have it or not. They do not claim it as their absolute necessity. And her view, and this is certainly my attitude towards life, is, yeah, does caring passionately and giving myself fully to my work, my girlfriend, my kids, even my dog, they matter to me. Does that expose me potentially to pain? Sure, but that's not what's important in life. What's important in life is the values and happiness that you can achieve. But to do that, you have to have the courage to go all in on them. And that's why I think that Stoicism in the end it's I don't have enough courage to live.
Yeah, if you think about the heroic journey, what is the tension that you create in the beginning of a story to create the motivation to even do something, or for the hero to have motivation to move forward through the valley of despair? It's, I want something and I want it bad, right? So for me, it's almost like a lifeless life. It's just, you don't want to suffer for the promise of not suffering. Just give away the motivation to live. I think that is a horrible recipe. And again, it doesn't give you any peace. It gives you lack of motivation. It gives you cynicism. And yeah, just kissing your child in the evening and say, yeah, one day you will die. And I was just reading the other day a book of a friend of mine who died at the age of 24. I remember that. It was a tragedy. And I was reading through this book and just thinking about how horrible it is that he's not alive. And the whole book was a reverence to who he was and the girlfriend that he had and the achievement that he had. And I was thinking about, I miss him so much. So it's painful. I mean, the experience of loss is painful, but this is part of the journey of someone who values things. Take the good of it, the joy, but also think about when you lose someone you love. Would you take that away? If you could say, if somebody dies, I can inject something into you and there's no loss, there's no mourning. I wouldn't take that shot. I want the good, I want the bad, I want the painful, I want the miserable, and I want the elated and the achievement. It's part of the sinus graph of my emotions going up and down. This is the story of my life, and that's what makes everything worthwhile.
Now, you made the point that if you have this attitude towards values, you're not going to strive and try to achieve things. And I think a Stoic would push back and say, look, no, what we're saying is you should go after these things. It's certainly better to have health than to have sickness. You should try to build your business. It's better to have wealth than to be poor. But just keep it in perspective. It's outside your control. Don't care about it too much so that if it doesn't work out, you'll be okay. But I really want to highlight, so this is how Epictetus puts it, because I think there's something really misleading about that way of characterizing it. He says, I personally was never kept from something I wanted, nor had forced upon me something I was opposed to. How did I manage it? I submitted my will to God. He wants me to be sick, then so do I. He wants me to choose something, then I choose it. He wants me to desire something, I desire it. He wants me to get something, I want the same, or he doesn't want me to get it, and I concur. Thus I even assent to death and torture. That is not go full throttle for your values, but don't care too much. That is passivity. It is, I'm just going to accept whatever comes at me. I'm not going to, yeah, I'll take some action if it's pretty easy. But if it's hard, well, God doesn't want me to have it. So what are you going to do? And have you ever read or seen The Miracle Worker, the play about Helen Keller? One of my favorite lines in all of literature, the original movie version, if people have seen it, has this line, as I recall. And Helen's teacher, Annie Sullivan, is struggling to get Helen to learn language. And one of the other characters tells her, well, God may not have meant Helen to have eyes. And Annie answers, I mean her to. Like, she's not going to accept any barrier to what's good and what she wants, even though the prospect of failure is a very real prospect. She's trying to do something nobody has ever been able to do. Now, I want to turn to the central idea in Stoicism, because this one is super interesting. And it's interesting because Ayn Rand actually has a whole essay on a similar issue. And it's this idea that what you should be focused on is what you can control, and you shouldn't worry too much about what's outside of your control. And that might sound like Ayn Rand's view. She has an essay called The Metaphysical versus the Man-Made, where she even echoes the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to change the things I can change, or to accept the things I cannot change, to the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And she thinks that there's a profound philosophic issue there, and that what's open to change is that which is open to your choice as a being with free will. That which you can't control is what she calls the metaphysically given, the nature of nature. The law of gravity, I can't choose that. The fact that beings die is outside the power of choice. And that's stuff that we have to serenely accept. But within what we can control, she thinks you should go all out. And people might think, well, that sounds a lot like Stoicism. But the key thing is, and I think we've hinted at this, but let's now punch it in the nose, is they have a completely impoverished view of what's in your control, because what they equate is control with full control. You have massive control over whether your business is successful. You don't have full control, but Tal, could you get up every day running the businesses that you've run if you didn't think that the success depended in large part on what you did?
Yeah, that's the confusion around determinism. I truly don't understand the people that take it seriously. Think about percentages. What percentage of the thing when you wake up in the morning and you do, you cannot control? I don't think about gravity. I don't think about the fact that people age. Those are the things that are given. I cannot control them. I don't pay attention to, because it's not part of what is in my focus. And for me, 99 point, I don't know how much percent is I control everything. I control my environment. I control my values. I control every decision I make of how to spend my time, what goals to set, what people to be around, everything. For me, I control everything. The aspects that I cannot control are in the background. They're like the rules of the game that I play. When I play, I don't know, you play backgammon, right? Do you think about, okay, what are the rules of backgammon? No, within the rules of backgammon is like, how can I play and be the best, make the best decision? Or chess, right? So the attitude is focus on, think that the rules of the game, right, or the metaphysically given is so important that what you do inside of it is really doesn't matter because there are rules. They're given. You're going to die one day. So think about a life when you're focused on, oh, I'm going to die one day. I wonder what day it will be. People just, what day will I die? How long will I live? And even people just being completely focused on longevity. I just want to live more. Even that, it goes to what can you really control? What do you do with the time? I always start when we do like happiness team workshops. I said, okay, I'm flicking my finger. The world is perfect. Everything is amazing, right? Now, what do you do? And people are confused. No problems of things I cannot control, what my mother is like and what my financial situation right at this moment. If you take that all away, then I'm lost. It's fully in my control. And now I have to choose, I have to value. And I think going back to your Rand quote, she says, valuing is the issue. Learn how to value. I call it my value or muscle. How much valuing muscle do I have? How much can I love something? How passionately can I love my dog or my kids or the sex I have with my partner? How much can I hold everything as sacred? And what I take it as high as I can. And yeah, maybe the fall will be big if I lose someone because I love it so much and I pay attention to how much I love things. But again, I want my sinus to be as steep as possible. I take it very personally where people are like, yeah, you can't control things. Of course you can control things. Tell me what you cannot control. Oh, the fact that you're going to die one day. Okay, that's in the background. That's a given. Now, but life is open. Life is a playground of possibilities. And just look at kids. Do they think about the day they're going to die? Do they think about the deterministic aspect of their lives? No, just look at them. They're natural valuers. And that's what Ayn Rand is talking about. Don't lose that spark. Don't lose that ability to value. And that's what Stoicism does to you. It's just don't do it. You're going to suffer. And just leave the tranquility and seek tranquility and peace. And it's also like a dead sinus, like a dead heartbeat. That's what Stoicism is asking you to do with its determinism and passivity. I agree with you. It's a passive philosophy.
Yeah, you mentioned the determinism. It's important to underline that. Not every Stoic is explicitly a determinist, particularly in modern times, that most of the ancients were. And so there, the whole idea that, well, you should control the things you can control is a complete lie, right? Because you could control nothing in the end. But at best, they have this impoverished view in it. And I really agree. I think that you can't look out and understand the different the life paths of people, including yourself, without seeing the hand of enormous choice. And to the extent that you don't see it, to the extent that you feel like I'm a victim of fate, usually what it is the choice you've made is to be passive. Not to do much, to go with the flow, to accept what your family says, accept what society says. The more that you can be determined, in a sense, by external forces, if you let yourself, if you choose not to think, not to go out there and pursue demanding values. And one of the biggest barriers to doing that is ideas like Stoicism that say, yeah, you can't control much of anything, so why bother?
And I was having a discussion with my daughter the other day about some people are born beautiful. Some people are born ugly. But if you think about what do we really value? Do we really care how good looking Steve Jobs was or Ayn Rand? Do we really care? I mean, the way you value someone is their choices, what they've done with their lives. All of the given is given. If you're so stunning, you can be a supermodel and someone. But so let's say you go out with a supermodel and she looks amazing, but then she opens her mouth and nothing comes out. And like, would you marry her? No, never. So we cannot underestimate the power of choice and the fact that we as natural valuers, implicitly, even if you don't explicitly acknowledge that, you always choose and you see people's choices. And the given is the given. Who cares? If you inherited $10 million, and you have a Porsche, right, or a Ferrari in your garage, and you show me that, it's like, yeah, okay, your dad made it, right? So what did you do? Again, psychologically, I've seen a lot of people dive into cynicism and even depression following Stoicism to the extreme. Literally, I knew people who sold everything. They moved to a smaller place. They didn't want to manage anything. And slowly they disvalued everything, even their ability to code. Let's say if they're a software engineer, it's like, yeah, I'm just writing characters into a computer and it works. Who cares? So the whole inspiration that I had of we're making better software so people can use it on the go and so on, all of that didn't spoke to them. There's like, no, 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 it is what it is. I write code, I debug it, and then I go home, I get paid. And that's where Stoicism leads you.
Yeah, I mean, my girlfriend has talked about she went through a stoicism phase and it was really hard to recover from, really rewarding, in that she felt like I can't spend money on anything frivolous or unimportant, like clothes that make me feel amazing and beautiful. And then when she got over it, to realize there's this whole realm of values out there that I wasn't exploiting and taking advantage of. I really robbed myself. And that's a small scale example of the larger scale examples you told. Now, I do want to raise, I'm really curious your thoughts here. If what's important in life is positive, is values, it's still true that we can encounter pain and failure and loss and disappointment. How do you think about that and tools for overcoming it? If we're not going to turn ourselves into zombies who don't care about anything, what are some things that you think are valuable approaches to dealing with adversity?
Well, it really depends on what kind of adversity. If it's, again, given, like somebody dies, right? My friend died. He fell off a roof and died at 24. I mean, it was horrible, the most horrible, shocking death. If you understand what's actually going on, is that a value of yours just disappeared. And you have to go through the process of untangling his meaning to you from your life slowly. And that's the process of mourning. So my attitude towards that is like, it happened. I have to accept it. So I will let myself experience the mourning process, the process of I won't call him anymore. I won't be speaking to him anymore. So you wake up in the morning, it's like, oh, maybe I can call him. It's like, oh, he's dead. And so the whole process of him slowly fading away from your galaxy of values is a process that I accept. And it's the way I experience loss. If it's something where I actually failed, let's say I planned something, it was a complete disaster, I tend to try and turn it into a positive. What can I learn from this? I made a mistake. I am a good person. I make mistakes all the time. I thought my judgment about this person or this project was the right one. It turned out to be wrong. What premises were wrong? And then try to turn it into a learning experience, not beating myself up, and turn that into a learning opportunity. So it really depends on what kind of adversity. But I hold and I cherish those opportunities to learn and to be better and make better decisions. And what will life look like if somebody guaranteed that every decision you make will be a wonderful one? Horrible. I mean, I wouldn't want it.
Have you ever seen that Twilight episode? There's a Twilight episode where a guy dies and he's in heaven. Everything he ever wants is given him. Every game of pool he plays, he wins. Every contest, every woman that he encounters wants to sleep with him, just everything. And at first he's so thrilled, but now suddenly he realized there's no striving, there's no struggle, there's no achievement. And he says to his guardian angel, he says, this is awful. How can this be heaven? And the angel looks at him and says, who said this was heaven? And it's precisely the struggle in the face where success isn't guaranteed that is the whole essence of life. And that's to be celebrated. I agree with everything you said. One further point I'd make, and to me, this is the most important thing in thinking about adversity. There's a really, really wrong view that happiness weakens you. It makes you soft. And what you need to do is deprive yourself in order to toughen up and become more resilient. And I think it's the complete opposite. That what happiness does is it gives you strength and resources that you can lean on when you do encounter adversity. I remember, I think it was the special forces guy who shot bin Laden, but I was listening to an interview with one of them. And to become a Navy SEAL, you go through a training called BUDS, which has this hell week where you're sitting in cold water, really cold water for long periods of time. And he said, amusingly, all these kids would come up to him and be like, oh, I've been taking cold showers to prepare me. He goes, No, there's no preparing. Like, it's going to suck. You deal with it when it happens. Go, like, take a warm shower, enjoy being under the covers. That's the preparation you should do, kid. But the serious point is that the more values you achieve and the more success you obtain, it gives you the confidence, the resources, even just the physical resources of money that can help you through tough times. And so if you want to deal with adversity, go be happy.
Yeah, I find that in every confusion, there's usually the thing we don't take into consideration is reason. So you say discipline and being stoic is versus the, like you said, the valuing the weak, the spiritual, and so on. And again, it's a mind-body dichotomy. So of course, I can be disciplined, I can be serious, I can be rational, and I can be the most spiritual and valuing. Ayn Rand's perspective to valuing is the right one because it breaks apart the dichotomies of mind and body, where I am disciplined. I wake up every day, I exercise, but the thing that is behind everything that she brings to the table is think about it rationally. What is needed? Do you need discipline in your life? Do you need to do things that you don't like? I don't know, paying the bills, working on your tax, and doing all the shitty things you need to do? Yes. It's part of what it takes to live a full life. On the other hand, do you want to create amazing things? Do you want to kiss your child and say you're the most amazing thing and not talk about the day that you're going to die or they're going to die? Yes, of course. So being the most disciplined, the most earthly, and the idealist all together. And she gives you that path that I think when I read Atlas and when I read The Fountainhead and then her nonfiction, she gave me the path to be the passionate person that I am and the rigor and the discipline and the deal with what I had a conversation with a young person the other day. He was complaining about another person and, oh, it's so terrible. And I said, look, this is the challenge of life. You need to deal with things as they are. There are challenges, big challenges, and embrace them. Don't just run away from them saying, oh, this guy is no good. I'm going to go the other way, do something. No, face the challenge. So courage and inspiration and creativity all go together. And you have to think about what are the rational virtues that I need to hold in order to pursue my values and achieve the most that I can. So I think Rand, if we talk about the positive, Rand is the anti-stoic in the sense that she says, you control your life. Use the power of your mind. Choose your rational values. Pursue them with no compromise. Be a Howard Roark, not a Peter Keating. Go for all of it. You might end up working for the spoiler, but you might end up working in a quarry, but you will live in your own skin of a person that knows what they want, they know who they are, and they hold virtues that are so attractive to yourself and to others.
Yeah, and for those who haven't read The Fountainhead, read it. And if you want to understand Stoicism, pay attention to the character of Dominique Francon. That is what Stoicism really means.
Oh, that's a beautiful one. I haven't thought about it, that Dominique is stoic. Don't value anything because the world's going to destroy it. That's true.
I'm Don Watkins, he's Tal Spani, and this has been The Unhappy Millionaire. Ready to take the next step in your journey? Visit theunhappymillionaire.com where you can find powerful resources for building a life that you love and details on how you can work with Tal and me.